All right. I'm welcoming Dr. Robb Kelly here on the Fox Takes podcast. Want to introduce him here. He's the founder of the Robb Kelly Recovery Group. He is a world-renowned addiction consultant. He has a PhD from Southampton University, and he is in San Antonio, Texas. Is that all? Is that right, Dr. K?
It is, but you missed Oxford University out as well. I have a PhD from Oxford University as well.
That out there. Yeah, and what is that in?
A small university, you know.
Yeah, very, very small, homespun. What is that? What is your opinion from there?
Good to be here, Jeremy. Thanks for asking me to come on.
Of course. Yeah, I definitely wanted to hear your approach to addiction treatment. I think we have a very similar, authentic way of communicating. I'll put it that way. Tell me about the PhD from Oxford. What's that in?
Well, it's psychology.
Nice.
It's kind of psychology with a twist. Because I did my papers on alcoholism, because there was alcoholism in my family. But the crazy thing is, I didn't know I was an alcoholic when I was doing it.
Okay.
So I was seeing all this devastation in the past, and I was drinking every day, like you're supposed to at college. But it was only later in life that the devastation came. So I like to say psychology with a twist. And then the Southampton one I have, which is an online from Southampton, probably 5 years ago,
Okay.
on behavioral science. So I like to study the brain, and I also like to study the behavior and the science around behavior. So I'm getting a full picture of the patient in front of me, because alcoholics and addicts tend to lie, would you believe? So, yeah.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah. Oh, okay. And of course, I wanted to also point out to listeners that they can find you on your website. I'll link to that. You've been on various shows, as you mentioned, Oprah, Dr. Phil, The Doctors. That was a cool appearance. Boy, I want to ask you any appearances you've made that surprised you, or any dirt you want to dish, but I don't want to put you in that position either. So, I mean, anything about TV that people wouldn't expect or anything like that would be cool to hear about.
Now, do you know what? I'd love to give you some, but they're always awesome to me whenever I go. I mean, they pay for limousines, the hotels, the flights, and you go down there and they treat me like a royalty, and it's just amazing. But
yeah,
I need I mean, you get usual stuff. I used to do a show in Dallas. I'm not going to name the show.
Sure.
I used to be quite often, but they'd be like laid back and doing Facebook and everything, and all of a sudden they go, okay, we're on 10, 9, and they jump up and they got like a jacket on with just boxer shorts and slippers underneath the table. There was a lot of that going on. It was good to see, because that's what I do.
That's hilarious. I love that. And this is before the time of COVID too, so the idea of working
Yes.
in your boxer shorts wasn't as widespread.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. So introductions here. You have a storied history here in a few ways. You definitely have a lot of credentials, but you wear kind of your big watershed moment on your sleeve, and you share it with people as a way to destigmatize. So I know you've told this story before, I'm sure countless times, but I'd actually like to hear what you were doing before before things really reached a crescendo point, because you talked about like having a really nice house and being a professional. What were you doing before? Were you a psychologist?
Well, I came out of college and I went straight into the police force.
Okay.
So I was a police officer for a small amount of time. I got fired for being drunk.
Okay.
That should have been a red flag straight away.
Sure.
It wasn't. So then I went into telecoms. So psychology and the practice didn't come till later on, and it wasn't huge in England.
Okay.
But, telecom, when they first started building the towers, it was first of all for the Army and Navy, but then obviously telecoms came up, mobile phones, and we started building there. So that's where my money came from in the early days, and kind of, treating people, one or two people on the side.
Okay.
That's where the main money come from, was from telecommunications.
Got it. Okay. Makes sense. So walk us through a little bit here as you're comfortable. Again, I wouldn't ask this, but your appearances, you're very open about it. I think that's really helpful for viewers and listeners. But what occurred that really jettisoned you down that path of addiction? What do you think were the triggers?
Well, I know now, because I was born with the alcoholic brain. It's
Okay.
different for the brains. It's neural pathways embedded into the brain, and that's why you can trace alcoholics back, or even drug addicts. You can trace them back in the family. They're always there. They might skip a generation, but they're always there. You
Okay.
can't just get up one day and drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic. People think you can, you can't. Abuse, yeah. Heavy drinking, yeah, but not alcoholic. There's differently. So when
Okay.
you're an alcoholic, it's not about the alcohol. It's about all the traits and behaviors that we have as well.
Bingo.
So that's what you need to look at. So with my past trauma, we've gone on now. So I want to kind of definition of this of trauma for me is with the addicted brain.
Okay.
Is something like my mom saying, "Get down off that chair, you stupid idiot," which she would say often. That was trauma to me. You know, there was no big plane crash, there was no divorce. It was just little things like that that happened. So I was drinking at the age of 9. So there was a good start. The moment I took alcohol in my body, I knew I was going to be different to anybody else. You know, I asked friends today, I go, "Hey, when you was 9 and you drank, remember that time we drank behind school? What did you think of it?" He went, "I spat it out and I hated it." When I took my alcohol for the first time, it was like somebody just gave me $1 million. It was just like everything took off. So that's where it started. And it just got heavier and heavier as we moved along.
Okay. So see, and I love that you brought that up. This is something I talk about with clients so often, this idea that they have in their head. And I'll put it this way. People think they don't deserve to call what happened to them trauma. Yeah. And I hear that a lot. And I'm kind of hearing it from you. It's like there was no plane crash. Or this was not that. Right. But continually being referred to as stupid and incompetent as a child sticks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It really does. And I've heard people come to me and we go back to the scene of the crime. That's how we talk about it. The scene of the crime. Well, my mum used to say to me all the time that you can't go to school. You can't go to college like your brother because you're too stupid. Wow. You know, and that was it. That was his trauma. You know, another one I heard, which was later in life. It was in America where this guy, he was 30 years old, 32 years old. And he came to me with trauma. And the trauma was that his father was a long distance runner by profession, won the Olympics and everything. So he always wanted his son to run and take over his legacy. And he was in a school race. And the guy was 9. The kid was 9. So he's 32 now. He was 9 when this happened. 4 people running in the race. First 3 people got a T-shirt. He come 4th. He never got a T-shirt. His dad always commented. Physically, he was good, but mentally abused him about coming 4th. You waste of time. You're a loser. That fat kid won before you. And we found out, and listen to this, Jeremy. We found out that the last 20 odd years of his life he's been chasing that T-shirt. Now that's trauma.
Absolutely. Yes.
And me and you know that, but other people was, well, what's the problem? Just going for. No, that's why he was a drug addict. That's why I became a drug addict and almost died on several occasions because of that T-shirt.
I mean, it's so emblematic, these milestones. Feeling like you somehow don't measure up to some milestone is a huge red flag that there's trauma there. And now people can, I mean, we could go down this rabbit hole for hours of what it looks like now online when kids are getting cyberbullied and told constantly to kill themselves by other kids. That's a big thing now. Yeah. And of course, you know, in some ways society now is easier than in others. In some ways, I think it's harder and they're very difficult to parse. But it's really important for people to realize, I think, that the importance of these early events to addiction, because one of your quotes that I really liked from the doctors episode that you did was, the problem is not our drinking, it's our thinking. And it's a catchy rhyme, but it also made me instantly know this guy gets trauma. He gets that the substance is the symptom, not the cause. So, absolutely. What are some things, now let's just open it up to whatever you want to talk about. But I really, if you want to put some kind of blinders on it, I want to hear, what are some really annoying misconceptions about addiction, or things that you see in culture, or things that you see in like pop psychology that really irk you and contrasted with what you know works?
Well, first of all, I wish he'd stop drinking for the sake of his kids. So they actually think that we have a choice when it comes to alcoholism.
Okay.
That annoys me, because that's not the case. The misunderstanding of brain science around any illnesses or conditions such as alcohol addiction, depression, is we're not just fighting a cause. We're not fighting something that we have a chance of winning. We're fighting something that's very misdiagnosed sometimes, even depression, and quick enough to be diagnosed as bipolar. 2 different illnesses. Look very, very similar. They look very similar indeed. So that also annoys me. and people that just, here's what happens. So where does depression come from? First of all, it's got a lot to do with your childhood, because when you grow up and start making friends, and if you get sad or depressed for any time, you isolate. When you isolate, you go back to your house. If your mom and dad don't have the relationship that they should with you, and they sweep everything under the carpet, that's when neural pathways are remapped into self-sabotage neural pathways. Self-sabotage, by definition, it'll kill you. So the healthy neural pathways of mom and dad sitting around the dinner table, they're saying, how was your day? Tell me, their days are gone. Their days are gone. Mom and dad's working, everyone's on the internet, everyone's on the phone, they've gone. You see, in 10 or 20 years' time, you'll see our kids with so many destructive diseases and illnesses and maladies that it will just be mind-blowing, because we've not seen anything like this in the previous centuries. So that annoys me, that we're not even looking at our kids not looking. It's like you're talking to them, they're on the phone. I spoke to somebody the other day, I said, are you lonely? Oh, no. Why? I have 5,000 friends on Facebook. I said, listen, you're plugged into a wall is where you are. You're plugged into a wall. You don't have any friends. You need to go out there and start mixing. We're communication animals. We need to, even COVID alone has got people going crazy because they're isolating. They did many years ago, they did an experiment with a guy. They stuck in a dark room for 30 days. He come out, he was chronically insane. They had to lock him up for the rest of his life. No communication, no sight of anything. Brain spotting, again, by definition, is what we see, is how we feel. So if we're going to a room and everyone's frowning, we're going to frown. If we're going to a room, everyone's smiling, we're going to smile. What we see is what we feel. There's all sorts of, it's just lack of knowledge, I think, about a lot of things that society says, here's the box, go and sit in it, and we fall into that same category. There was a case in Manchester, England, many years ago, where a beautiful young lady, a teenage 17, 18-year-old lady, she went missing. And the police couldn't find her. She'd been snatched off somewhere. And there was a manhunt all over the place. Anyway, they couldn't find her. And 6 months later, a police officer in a car was following a guy, and his brake light was out. So they pulled him over, brake lights out. They searched his car. They found a stolen screwdriver. That's all it was. But in England, if you find it stolen in the car, you can go back to the house and legally search it. So they did. When they were searching through the house, they found a big box, like a coffin box laid down, but it was huge. They opened the box, and there was the girl that had been missing. So she'd been bruised and battered. He took her out every day, and he raped her, and then she went back. Anyway, the policewoman came up. She opened it. There was loads of police there, but they thought the policewoman would be better. She walked over to her, she leant down, she got the girl's hand, and she stepped out of the box, and she stood there. I often ask this question, what's the first thing the girl did?
What was it?
She got back in the box.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. Everybody does that. They go, oh my, that's what we do in society.
It's the learned helplessness. It's
learned behavior. It's just that this is what I should do. You go out on a coach tour, so on a bus, you travel to the seaside on a bus, you sat in your seat, you go there, you get back on the bus. Which seat do you sit in? Same one I came in. That's the way the human being brain works. And we can go deeper than that. And I often say to people, get out the box. Get out the box. You keep getting in the box. And people don't understand, by definition, the illnesses that we go through right now. And I just wish they would. So that's what irks me.
Yeah,
there's long.
What?
That was long, but it was that's it.
No, I'm really actually glad that you went down that path, because that's one I talk about a lot. There's a habituation there, and it's very interesting to see people go along with it. And it's something that I've talked about a lot with clients, this sort of using technology as a way to avoid the anxieties that are intrinsic to life. So things like not making eye contact with people, the example you used on the bus, anywhere in public, reaching for your phone, instantly having something that is an avoidance mechanism. And I saw a few years ago, this is when I really knew we'd reached a new low in society and needed to start speaking out against it. The website Tumblr tends to be kind of a hub for peer interaction of helping each other sometimes, and sometimes enabling each other. But that's in this kind of instance that we're going to talk about. But people saying that they needed maybe slips or so permission slips or something from college to get them out of doing group discussions because of their anxiety. And now anxiety can be certainly debilitating, but we also have to learn to speak among our peers, right? We have to learn now viewing some rites of passage of becoming functional adults as almost pathological and needing to get out of it. I think phones were a trajectory to get us there. I was wondering if you kind of saw things along the same way.
Oh, without a doubt. Definitely. I think if we go back, I don't know, 30 years ago, even, the behavior of society itself was a lot different than it is today. So we're kind of morphing this behavior of isolation, That's the first thing you do. Yeah, I mean, ask any kid today, if you were taken on the desert island, what's one thing you'd take? My phone. They're just tied to the phone every day. Facebook has you, whether you like it or not. They own your ass. First thing most people do in the morning when they get up is check the Facebook page. So you're done. All the other apps as well. But yeah, definitely on the same wave path as you is, it's just crazy, absolutely crazy. But this is our society today. Can we change it? I truly believe we can. But I think it has to start with, I know, maybe the parents with the next generation, because this generation's done. I mean, there's kind of no hope for this generation at the moment, but the next generation, maybe.
I think you bring up a really good point. Because it does seem to be generationally kind of alternating, and that's another conversation that could last a long time, like the generational cohorts here. My generation in particular, millennials, grew up in a very unique time that enabled a massive amount of narcissism. And I think it was right at the cusp of, it was really between the yuppie generation and Gen Z. And it's like millennials were kind of the Barney generation. Everything you do is beautiful and you're amazing. And now Gen Z is getting hit with a lot more conscientious sort of climate change and do your part messaging. And so I think maybe when Gen Z and the generation after that starts to look around and say, we've got to do something about society, I think that's when it'll change. I think millennials are very much kind of the ones who, when I was kind of a teenager and even earlier was when this tech stuff was happening, and Gen Z hasn't really known a world without it. And then, so I think when people start to think, is there anything better than this? The cycle will start again. It's like, well, we've got to push some of this back.
And the other thing as well is we don't know the long-term effects on this on society.
No.
The nurse, the quake, the over. I mean, I asked someone the other day. They go talking to me. He said, "Oh, I've seen this thing in the store. It's $100." And his friend said, "Have you tried Amazon?" So he tries Amazon. It's $125. So anyway, he sees him a couple of days later, and he said, "Did you go back to the store and get it?" So he says, "No, I got it off Amazon." Why? It was same day delivery. Apparently, at the store, you had to order it because it was backlogged. But they're paying more for next day. It's like instant gratification is not quick enough for everyone today.
Right.
Like everything's got to be on hand straight away. And we're missing the flowers. We're missing smelling the roses. We're missing talking to the next door neighbor, that human contact that we need. We're kind of isolating in public. I've just come out with that now. That just hit me. We're isolating in public. It's like sometimes I go to major football games and soccer games, and I'm always looking around. I'm a people watcher with the psychology part and behavioral science. I'm always looking around. And I've lost count how many people I've seen at an important game and never took their eyes off the phone because they're texting their friends.
Wow.
Missed something great in front of them. Yeah. And they're telling the friends that are at the football game. And they're not at the football game themselves. How crazy is that?
It's a performative sort of, it's become a consumption experience going out to the concert and then because I know what you're talking about, because I, before COVID started, really went to a lot of concerts and live music, and I would kind of see the same thing. Video recording the show, and I've done that before. Like you're in the moment and you want to capture this, but making it all about the signaling of your consumption for this event of I'm here, look at me, looking at this. I totally.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's funny because I've seen some footage on YouTube of some musicians who, let's say, were a little surly, or maybe some rock musicians who, like the lead singer of Disturbed, he actually started yelling at this girl for being on her phone and talking, or for not paying attention. Like, why don't you sit the hell down and enjoy the show or something? It's funny because some of the performers and some people are starting to kind of snap back at that. It's like, well, maybe there's a better way to handle that, right? But also, I think for some people, there's kind of a wake-up call of, you may not be watching the world, or the event, but the people putting it on for you may see that you're taking it for granted. And so it's interesting you bring that up. I think these public events now, and that's how it's an addiction, right? It's people reaching for it in the midst of something that really could be an experience on its own. Yeah. Wow. When you were talking on the radio show, which I want to direct listeners to the fact that you host Talking Sober on 570 KLIF. You still, that's ongoing, right?
No, we stopped that a couple of years ago. What's happening right now is the Recovery Channel podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the current one. We just started 4 weeks ago. Before that, it was Breaking Through Addiction.
Got it. Okay. Well, I saw a clip on your website when you were talking to Michael about people asking you. This is such a huge thing, because I dealt with this with clients where they were immersed in friend groups, like maybe in the music scene back in the big city in Denver where I was living before. Now I'm near the big city of Atlanta. But what doesn't change is people who are in certain communities having to explain to friends, I don't drink anymore. And you gave a really good answer for that. Maybe you could talk a little bit how you handle when people ask you that, but it's such a huge thing, having to have boundaries about that.
It is. And I think that's going to change as we move forward, because all the guys in sports and the major guys out there on TV, and sober's the new drunk. But yeah, I mean, I would personally say, I'm either in training, or I don't drink anymore, or
right.
I have an allergy. I have an allergy towards drinking. And people go, what does that mean? I said, well, do you know you have an allergy towards cheese? They go, yeah, I do have an allergy towards cheese. What happens when you drink cheese? I get very ill. Oh, so when they eat cheese, they get well. That's the same thing with alcohol. When I drink alcohol, I get ill. It's not the fact that I'm going to cause trouble and end up in a blackout, but I get seriously ill and put myself and all sorts of people in danger.
Right.
And I remember somebody years ago walking up to me in a bar, and I'd been sober for a few years, and I wasn't in a great mood. I don't know why. And this guy kept coming over and, just have one drink. What's wrong before you go? Just have one drink. It's like, I don't drink anymore, and they were good friends, and he kept pestering. Anyway, he came up for the last time, and I was speaking with somebody, and he just kind of embarrassed me. For God's sake, are you a man or not? Just have one drink. And I turned around to him and I said, hey, give me a pint of fear. No. Give me a pint of anxiety. No, hang on a second. Give me a pint of me stabbing you to death in 20 minutes because I can't control what I'm doing in a blackout. And he walked away. And I thought it's the only way I could explain it to him. It's like, when I drink, that's what happens. I love people who come on and go, I drank and I had a blackout all night. Which a blackout, by the way, guys, in case you don't know, many people think they do. It's just going through a drunken period without even knowing about it. It doesn't mean you fall down unconscious. And they go, I had a blackout last night. I had a blackout for months. I'd end up in different countries when I drank. I mean, it was just all bets were off. Right. At least on a nice road. And one morning I woke up and my wife was sneering over me and said, there's 7 people at the front door want to see you. I smashed every car on the way down the road. I bounced off every car the other side of the road. I mean, that's the stuff I do. It's just
right.
Really incredible. So yeah, I tell them, I mean, it's great today because everyone knows who I am. I'm a public figure, but back in the day, it was really hard, really hard. In fact, somebody was joking with me once and he said, I was in a bar and somebody said, do you want a drink? And he said, no, I'm an alcoholic. And the guy said, what did you just say? And he said, oh, sorry, I'm a rapist. And the guy said, thank God for that. For a minute, I thought he said, you're an alcoholic.
Oh my God.
But that's how crazy it becomes. It's just like, it's not recognized by society. Everybody likes to drink, celebrate. With you have a bad mood, you drink, good mood. You got nighttime, you can be dinner. It doesn't make any difference. It's the first thing you go for. And he's still a bit strange today when I go out and my wife drinks wine now and again. And we'll get the wine. I'll smell it because I used to like German wine. And a lot of people will freak out about that. It's just crazy society.
It is. And I think I'm so glad we're at a point in society where you can say, I have a gluten intolerance and I don't want bread. How about we apply that to, I have an alcohol intolerance, or however you want to put allergy. I like that term. And I can't have that, right? It's like, I think there's something spectacularly myopic about the way we view alcohol as a fun enhancer. You don't have to have that if you're with the right company and you're enjoying something. I mean, I went to went to dance festivals and I didn't have to drop ecstasy or acid or do anything like that. Like, and I think to get even deeper, it's lacking the capacity for mindfulness, right? Like, you have to have the substance to enjoy it. Well, let's train ourselves to be mindful and actually enjoy what's going on in front of us without that. Enjoy our friends' discussion without having to have this tingling, warm feeling inside with alcohol.
How many times? I mean, I've heard this loads of times. Oh, went out. It was a great night last night. What happened? No idea. I was too drunk. How can that be a great night out? You don't remember anything. It's crazy. Well, that's what people are like. It's just, they just revert to alcohol anytime they can. It's like an escape. But you got to start asking yourself, if you're a heavy drinker or a binge drinker, you got to start asking yourself, what's so bad about your life that you need external source or liquid or whatever it is, drug, to make it better? Because it never makes it better. It's only the thought pattern before the drink that you get excited about. So we did a test on hundreds of people. It's like, we found out that the guy going to the liquor store, it was more intoxicating the drive there than the actual liquor itself. And the same thing with the drug addict. The drive to the drug dealer, was more intoxicating than the heroin, because by the time they take the heroin, they're out of it. So the drive there was very intoxicating for them.
Now, you did a study on this, or what was that? What kind of study was this? Okay.
Yeah, just to see, why people take drugs or alcohol. Was it enjoyable? And no, the drive to there was more enjoyable. The anticipation of getting this, especially drugs, because it was like illegal. It's like the drive there. You know quite well, the dealer's there. It's going to be awesome. It's like, I often tell a story about, I was outside a liquor store one morning. It was probably 5:30 in the morning. The guy opens at 6. It's snowing. It's about 4 below. I have a pair of flip-flops on, a pair of shorts, and a vest. That's all I have on. And I'm shaking, sweating with hot sweats. I'm sweating crazy. I'm going through DTs. And I was just dying. And he opened the door and I went in, and he's not supposed to serve alcohol till 10, but he knows I need it. And he put the bottle on the counter. I'll give him the money. And I held the bottle and I just changed instantly. Like, oh, hey, I was in a great mood because I knew I had it. And I suddenly realized it's not the alcohol. It's the way I think about it. Hence, it's not the drinking problem. It's a thinking problem.
Absolutely. No, that's absolutely accurate. And it's amazing to hear that. Did you publish this anywhere, that study about the going to the liquor store being more intoxicating than doing the drugs? Because I'd love to share that with people or attach it to the podcast.
No, I didn't. It was just like an internal thing that we did at work. I'm trying to think if it's in the book. I can't remember. It's in the book. I think it's in the book, I think.
Your book? Or
yeah, I have a book out there. Yeah.
We'll add that too. We'll put that in the pocket. No, that's absolutely something that people have to realize. Build a life that's worth living and that you don't want to escape. That's a great way, I think, to look at it. I think you nailed it on the head with the escapism that we're in. And I can't believe how...
And the other thing as well.
What?
The other thing as well, Jeremy, is what I find is, if you're Sunday night, you've got that horrible feeling, you got work next morning, you need a different job. If you're going on to that nagging wife who really depress you, you need a new wife. And people laugh when I say that. It's like, you get one shot at this, guys. It's going to go real quick. So why sit in misery? Why not make a life that worth? So me and Janet met about 6-7 years ago. We've been married for 5 years. And after we got married, 2 days, we had an argument. And it was nothing. And we finished it. And then I just said, well, what was all that about? And she said, well, that's the way marriage is supposed to be. And I said, says who? Who's making these? I don't like these rules.
Right. No, that's brilliant.
Who's making these rules up? So we dance in the bathroom like kids. We'll mess around. We'll fun around. It's life. You've got to make your own life. Don't fall into the trap of, you've got to work that job if you hate it. You've got to, live in that house when you hate it. You've got a wife that just makes you crazy. Get new ones. Build a life that you don't need anything on top of it, but it's just joy.
It's amazing that you say that. I've had clients before who were working jobs that maybe made six figures, but when I asked them what got them into it, they would say, "Oh, my parents told me to look for something that makes money and I do it. And it's very stressful and I don't like it, but that's just what you do." And I'm like, "Well, says
Yeah,
who?" As you would say. It's like
exactly. Yeah.
unbelievable. The narratives. And you'd like, it's not the drink, it's the thinking. It's not, it's always the thinking. It's always the narratives we get and whether we question what we learned or not. So this is actually a really good time to kind of backtrack a little bit here for listeners. So you were doing telecoms. Let's pick back up. You started down the path of addiction and kind of walk us toward what happened for you to end up homeless, if you don't mind. Just recap.
So I'm making lots of money. I married this girl. I was drinking heavily. We had our first child, promised never to drink again. That lasted 4 hours. Carried on drinking. I had my second child. Took 2 Bibles to the hospital, promised never to drink, lasted 6 hours, I was drunk again. So this continued, and there was horrific stuff that happened in the house. I stabbed my wife one night 3 times because she wouldn't let me stop. They wouldn't let me finish drinking. I hit her with a little baby in her arms, didn't know that, I was in a blackout. Lots of stuff. So when I stabbed her 3 times, I called the ambulance, I waited for it to come, and I shot off to the airport and went to my villa in Spain. Came back 3 months later when she wouldn't press charges, and she's packed all her bags and said, "That's it." And she left, you know. I got the kids back the next day because my attorney went and got them. I promised him money. And I had my 2 kids back there. And then I was so happy to have my kids in the house. I put them in front of the TV to watch a little bit of TV, and I walked into the kitchen and I thought, wouldn't it be great to just have a beer to celebrate? A celebratory beer, just one. 3 days later, when the police kicked the door down and I was unconscious and the children not been fed or changed for 3 days, they were nearly dead. They kicked me to make me wake up, and they served me with unfit father papers, and they took my children off me. And I got to the door, my mother-in-law was there, my wife was there, the police were there, the authorities were there. And my little girl, who was age 3, 4 at the time, was walking down the path holding mummy's hand, and she said 3 things to me. She said, "Daddy, Daddy, please don't go." Then further down the path, she said, "Daddy, Daddy, please get better." And then she got to the gate, she turned around one more time and said, "Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking." And 6 months after that, I'd lost everything. The house had gone, the work had gone, the medical license had gone. I went to my mom and she kicked me out. I went to my friends, they kicked me out. I went to acquaintances. And then one day I was sat on a bench going, what the hell just happened with my life? And that was it. It was, I woke up one morning and the guy next to him stabbed to death for his sneakers. You know, that's the world I lived in. I had to fight every day to stay alive. And I was lucky because even though I was wealthy then, I grew up on the project. You know, I grew up having to fight every day to survive. So I survived okay on the streets, but I tried to commit suicide 6 times, and on 2 occasions it worked. And 2 EMTs brought me back to life on both occasions, which I was very pissed at the time because I wanted to die. You know, that was it. I just made my mind up that I was going to die. I'd jump on train tracks, I'd try and jump off buildings. It was something always went wrong and I couldn't do it. So that's what it took me. And it was the most saddest time of my life because everybody cut me off. You know, I used to beg for 10 cents or 10 pence on the streets and run to the phone box all excited to call my mom. Because even at the age of 27, I still needed my mom. And I would call her, and as soon as she heard my voice, she'd slam the phone down.
Wow.
You know, I've got marks on my wrist now too. I tried to slit my wrist to die. It was just horrible. Still want to live. Really didn't.
Gosh. And what was the turnaround point there?
Well, I had a spiritual awakening. 2:30 in the morning, Monday morning, I dropped down to my hands and knees on the back streets of Manchester and said, if there was a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. That's what I said because I wanted to die. I was crying. I was hopeless. And a guy walked around the corner, and 2:30 in the morning, back end of Manchester, don't know what the hell he was doing there. Said he could help, took me back to his house, and my journey started there. It was just as quick as that. As quick as it onslaught is the quick I left it behind. And I knew when I got off the streets that first night, I was laying in a warm bed with blankets on me and the central heating was on. And I thought to myself, everything I've been through, I'm still crying over my daughters. I thought everything I've been through for the rest of my life, I'm going to find out what the hell alcoholism is and addiction, first of all. And secondly, I'm going to try and help as many people as I can in this world before I die. So 6,500 patients later, and research that's groundbreaking on the hypothalamus and the neural pathways, here I stand in San Antonio, you know, a self-made millionaire, a high-profile doctor, television guy with books out there going, I still want to work with the guy sat out there on the road because he can't stop drinking. So I'm always in the trenches trying to work. And we give out so much. We give $120,000 last year to one-parent families in recovery who have children, or people in recovery need a car, need a rent paying for a year, you know, just to give them that start. Because that's why I got off that guy. I got that start to start this crazy, amazing life that I have today. And even though it is amazing, I don't know if you're into cars, but I drive a Mercedes McLaren. I live in $1 million house. I have a guitar room. I was an ex-musician. I got probably 20 guitars off there, signed by different people, because I was at Abbey Road for a period of time. So yeah, I lived great, but I always remember where I come from.
Absolutely. Who was that? That's all amazing. Who was that mysterious stranger who helped you recover? Was he like an addiction advocate or something? That's so fascinating.
Never found him.
Wow.
Went back to try and find him when he'd moved or something. But yeah, I never traced that guy. Yeah. So that's a whole new podcast, that one. That was freaky scary. You know?
No, absolutely. That is quite a story. I mean, so sustainable success versus unsustainable is another great topic. I mean, being wealthy versus being rich is a conversation. I mean, I've kind of heard, I think it was a Chris Rock comedy skit about like being rich is something you can get in a day and lose in a day, but having a wealth mindset is something different. So it's kind of what I'm hearing.
Well, my wealth today is my 4 English bulldogs, my beautiful wife, my 2 cats and 3 fishes. You can take me from where I am now, and I really mean this, Jeremy. You could stick me with all them I've just mentioned and a guitar in a tent in the middle of a field, and I would be content. That's how wealthy I am.
And that's what really matters, is the sustainability of your relationships.
People think I'm joking when I say that. It's like, no, you can take all this. You see, I buy stuff because I can, but I'll lose stuff because I can. It don't make any difference to me. They're just objects, and people think I cherish these. That car cost this amount. Oh my God! It's like, well, you know, what can I say? You know, because I swore I'd never shop in Louis Vuitton. I would never spend that kind of money on a car. I would never buy that bread because it's $1 more. I was that guy. But when you get what you get, then you automatically can, oh, well, when you look at Louis Vuitton, like 100 years later, you've still got a bag that's still good. So, you know, I'm not doing it for fashion. I'm doing it because he's awesome. And the car I drive, I call my friend up. She's over in Manchester. So I'm really torn between buying this car. Is it my ego? And she says, can you afford it? I says, yeah. Are you going to go into debt with it? No. Well, buy the car, Rob. What's wrong with you? Enjoy life. And that's what I do today. I dye my hair blonde. I wear stupid color clothes like the kids. Rap music is my favorite music, followed by rock music. Eminem is awesome. And Dr. Dre is my idol that I met one day. It's like I pull up at the signal lights and there's this, you know, some sort of Eazy-E track blaring in the background. And other people are looking at my age and going, how old are you, dude? And I'm like, I'm never getting old, you know. I'm just
nothing but a number. That's right. Yeah. That's amazing. So you and your wife now have a great relationship. How did you two meet? So you got divorced from your first wife when you were estranged, and then you met this.
I always smile when somebody asks me that, because there's a great story behind it. So obviously online, we never knew each other, but it's the way I held court that day. Ooh. Is I'm a kind of businessman, so I've got 6 girls that I kind of think are attractive and kind of think it could work with. So I lined them all up at interviews at Starbucks. They didn't know this. My wife knew after, but she almost killed me. So I had my first one at 12 o'clock, and then I'd see her for like 20, 30 minutes. Then I'd walk her out to the car and say bye, and I'd wait in my car till the second one came. Then I'd get out my car as if I just arrived. My wife, Janet, was number 4 on the list. So now I'm interviewing Janet. I'm like, hey, you know, have you got any kids? Blah, blah, blah. And halfway through, I just excused myself. I went to the bathroom and I called the other 2 girls and said, I found the girl I'm going to marry. Thank you for showing interest. I went back to the table and I sat down and I said, I'm going to marry you. And she started laughing, and it's funny though, Jeremy, because we got married later on. But when she was going to church, and here's a freaky stuff. I don't know. I'm not into religion. I'm a spiritual guy, but I'm not into religion. But her pastor told her to write 6 things that she wanted in a man because she'd been divorced for 10 years. And so she wrote, must be English, must be a musician, but highly educated. And she wrote about 6 things down, and I'm every one of those. It was weird. Crazy how it happened. So yeah, we have a relationship like nothing else.
That is very fascinating. My gosh. Was this on like Match or eHarmony or something?
It was our time, over 50s. We're old, remember, Jeremy, not like you. We're old. It's like over 50s. That's where we met. But it's funny because because of who I am and where I go and the public speaking and the TV, I get girls in the 20s, early 20s, trying to give me phone numbers, invite me back to hotel rooms. It's like, I'm at a stage of life now where, first of all, I know it's not me you want, it's the wealth. And secondly, there's nothing you got that my wife ain't got. So
that's such a healthy attitude. And yeah, you definitely don't look your age. So that also helps, I'm sure. It's like, what?
Checks in the mail.
Oh, yeah. No, I have to give a disclaimer. I'm not getting paid by Dr. Kelly. It's great to chat with you for a multitude of reasons. I mean, but also I think this is going to do so much for people who think of mental health and addiction treatment lame. And I think actually now a lot of addictions treatment does come off as pretty cool and cutting edge, probably because of a lot of the people that have suffered with addiction, recovered, and come out the other side are actually pretty interesting people to begin with, who were living life at a breakneck pace and got caught up in stuff like, how can I maximize that even more? How can I relax after being such a rock star, literally or figuratively? And I think we need to take that, we need to put that into the trauma world a little bit, because there's kind of this live, laugh, love, doily pillow, very quiet, hush tone, whisper type therapy that's really, and I refer to that affectionately, like the live, laugh, love therapy, but it's something I've seen a lot. And when I have seen clients are like, wow, I didn't expect someone who kind of was this passionate or like you, Jeremy. It's like, yeah, well, there's as many different therapists as there are clients. I mean, there's as many different styles of therapy as there are patients. Really, there's someone who's going to fit you. It's like a platonic relationship. It's not just one, but what we see a lot of is the stuff that tends to be very, very niche and fit kind of one personality style versus people who really want someone who's going to make them laugh and make them think and be a character, right? So I kind of relate to that. It's funny. I actually grew up, I saw Dr. Phil, and that was part of what got my interest going in psychology. So when I found out you had been on his show, I was like, well, that's a very cool little congruency there.
Yeah. It was meant to be.
Well, yeah. And he's another one of those, like, how's that working for you? Right. Like, it's ask blunt questions. People don't respect when you're not willing to ask them stuff that hits. They're not paying you just to be a friend. Sometimes that's part of it. Well, that's unethical. That just be friend. That's a whole can of worms, actually. But people really want to know in a respectful way, like, how am I fucking up? And I think we also miss that now. There's a wonderful self-care revolution going on, but with addiction and with severe trauma, like, that's not enough. Yeah. I wonder if you've seen this and kind of rolled your eyes and been like, yeah, we'll see how long that lasts before a remission.
There's so many things out there that they're just not reality. I mean, when I was suffering, I went to see a therapist, and he said, next time you want to drink alcohol, try taking a warm bath. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? You know, I'm gonna fucking drink the drink. I'm not gonna take a bath, you know. And there's lots of stuff out there that I disagree with. I disagree with a lot of treatment centers out there because they're talking shit, and they're teaching out of 1940s manuals. And you've got to get personal with the guy. That's why a lot of people about it. I'm crazy. I look crazy. I'm crazy. I got a kid today, 23 years old. He freaking talked to him for the first time 3 weeks ago. His parents are like, oh, I don't know. He's very hard. He slammed the phone down and said, this guy's crazy. I need to be with him. It's like I'm shouting at him. We're screaming. We're laughing. And, you know, it's like I get on with all sorts, but mostly the younger people, because you know, I've done a lot of stuff in my life. When you're sat next to Freddie Mercury playing a session, or David Bowie, you know, when you've got one of the greatest rap singers of all your life as a patient, you know, and the biggest rock star, movie stars, you get to know a little bit about life, you know, and it's just all about, let's be honest, it's all about having fun without hurting anybody. That's the golden rule. If we can do that and give back, we're doing okay. And I didn't want to do that. You know, I was selfish, self-centered, insecure. You know, I was all the stuff that tagged alcoholism, but I've changed so much. So I like seeing new patients because everyone, I can wear pink collar scrubs. I wear I've got like, I don't know, 20, 30 pair of sneakers. Everything's over the top with me. I dye my hair blonde. I don't give a shit. You know, whatever attention I've got to get from you so I can get you well is all that matters. There's no holds barred, you know. And again, the other end as well is people take me serious because there's a guy in California once and he just didn't want to get well and he kept missing appointments. And I said to his mom and dad, can I come and get him? And he said, yeah, we went over, we bust into his house, we handcuffed him, we put him in the car and we brought him back to Dallas. He's like, don't try that shit, you know, we'll do that. I break all the rules. It's crazy. I should have been locked up by now, but it's whatever you need to get you laughing and see that your life is worth living. More people look up to you than anybody else in the world. And that's what a lot of people think. Listen, guys, if you're listening out there, I want to tell you something. First of all, you're never going to be blonde enough, tall enough, thin enough, or rich enough. Get that straight away. Just digest that for a second and breathe. Once you've got that, you will never know how many people you influence. You see the guy going to school or the guy going to work in the morning, nobody speaks to all day. Someone's watching you. Someone's trying to get a job just like yours. Some people are looking up to you as that's a good guy. And that's all you need to know. I was talking at a meeting once and I just had enough. It was like my home group meeting and I put the microphone down. I said, I'm done, guys. No one's taking any notice. Nobody thinks what I do. And I sat down at the back of the group and you could hear a pin drop. And this old guy at the back, he used to come in and clean. And he walked to the front of the stage and he picked the microphone up and he said, and this changed my life. He said, anybody in this room been affected by what Robb is about and his teachings? And let's say there was 200 people in the room, 10 people stood up. And I was just about to stand up and go, told you, it's a fucking waste of time. And he said, those people that are sat down, have you been affected by the people that have stood up? 20 more stood up. And he carried on doing that until the whole room was stood up. And he looked at me and said, never underestimate the influential or the influence you have on other people because you never know it. It's called the ripple effect. And he walked away and I've never forgot that. Never forgot it.
That's absolutely amazing. Yeah, I think that is 100% accurate. People really have to be aware that what they do, and that goes negatively too. It's like getting someone addicted to something versus giving them some resources for where to go to get help. I mean, it's unbelievable how many great peer supporters there are out there. What got you from England to Texas?
Wow. It's another crazy story. I came over for 2 weeks only. That's first of all, I want to get that out there. I had no intention of coming here. And one day I got a message from a church in Plano, just near Dallas, Texas. Big problem with their youth ministry on crack cocaine, very affluent area. So they asked me to come over for 2 weeks. So this was way before the internet was really popular. It was like you get emails and all that, but Facebook wasn't created, I don't think.
Sure.
And I organized to come over. They paid for my ticket to come over. I got 2 weeks worth of money, 2 weeks worth of clothes. And I stepped off the plane at DFW, Dallas Airport. And as soon as my feet hit American soil, something hit me going, you're never going home again. Now we got you here. And that was it. Never went home.
Wow.
Visited, but not lived. Yeah. Freaky.
Yeah, but it sounds like you really did a lot of great work to help that community with the crack cocaine problem.
Yeah, it was awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Wow. Are there some peer-reviewed sort of empirical therapies that you really support for addiction versus some that and you don't have to get into ones you don't approve of if you don't want to throw shade, but stuff that you like versus don't, off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, and you just touched on it, Jeremy, is when you're suffering from depression or even bipolar, alcoholism or addiction,
Mm-hmm.
Do you really need a pill or do you need a friend? You know, I mean, which
Right.
route? And I'd just been on a podcast just before I came on here talking about giving amphetamines to our kids and pills to our kids at such an early age, you know, and I think that, first of all, the understanding of what somebody's going through. So say somebody come to me who was suffering from anorexia. That's not my area. Will I take them on for the 10 grand a month I charge? No. Well, Rob, it's 10 grand a month. Just take her on and just work with her. No. Why would I do that? It's 10 grand. 10 grand to kill her? Because that's what I'll do. I have no knowledge. So I'm really favored of people who know their arena. I love experience, not in college. I don't think you can buy a lot of these at college. You need life experience. Like, you know, like when I look at you straight away, you're the kind of guy I'd come and see. You've always got a smile on your face. You look amazing. You're full of life. I mean, that I want to be you when I see you. And that's what I hope people look at me and say, wow, I want to be you when I see you, because, you know, we can have a lot of influence over a lot of diseases without going for medication straight away. I've seen it, Jeremy, too many times. You know, I'm not endorsing this. And this is just for me personally. I've seen many people come off medication with the right therapist. You know, because the pharmaceutical company runs this world. You've got to believe that. If they can't give you a pill, they're not interested in you.
Oh, let me hit on that. No, first of all, thank you. And second of all, yeah, I mean, I think, and when you were on the doctors, I think they pointed out, they're like, they loved your scrubs, they loved your shoes. It's like, well, that's what we're living in 2020. And even in since the year 2000, I think you gotta have some flavor to you and some excitement. And yeah, one of the things that we really have to realize is there are some disorders like schizophrenia and different chronic conditions. Yeah, medication may be a lifelong prospect. But when you look at depression and you look at for anyone out there, I've referenced this book a lot. You've probably heard of it too, but it's called Cracked: The Unhappy History of Psychiatry. Okay, I see you nodding. There's a great point in there, like that the length of depression was decided on as 2 weeks. Why? It was voted on. A bunch of dudes got in a room and voted the length of depression before you call it that. So when you hear something like that, it's like, okay, there's biochemical imbalances or things like that. However, a lot of language we use around depression and anxiety is very arbitrary, a lot of the diagnostic stuff. So you've got conditions that really probably require some lifelong medications. But when you look at depression, especially of a reactive kind, that's very situational, what's your environment doing to you? Are you sitting, as you've said, in a room? Are you isolated with other people? Are you, and this is another thing I've been hitting on Twitter lately, depression. So, fragile narcissism being misdiagnosed as depression, and an utter implosion because of nothing but focus on the self being labeled as depression.
Yeah.
I think that's massive now.
It is. It's huge. Absolutely huge. And it makes so much sense as well. Yeah, it does. It's so true. Give a label, and the quickest one is depression, obviously. But I just love what you said there, and I've got to go back to it, is what color are you? You know, you've got to have a color. You've got to have some sort of, you know, something that's going to tag somebody and go, hang on a second, this guy's a little bit different. Because everyone's seen the therapist, everyone's seen the psychologist, everyone's been there, done it. It's like an old car. You know how it's going to drive. It's the same old, same old. And all of a sudden, you see me and you and go, that's a fucking Ferrari. I want some of that. You know, I think that's very important.
I think that, you got that right. Therapy doesn't have to suck. It doesn't have to be boring. And I got my start, like I went through college, then went to grad school pretty quickly, got licensed as a therapist. And the biggest thing that opened my eyes was EMDR training, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, looking at trauma as watershed moments that encode these memories that get elicited by cue reminders in the environment, which people often engage in addictive behaviors or get addicted because they're avoiding those cue reminders. They want to blunt the impact that the environment has or whatever. And so I think you nailed it when you said academic experience versus lived experience. It sucks, but a lot of really great trainings are paywalled behind education, meaning people view grad school as sometimes, especially if they didn't go, as this kind of amazing thing that forges therapists and healers. And don't get me wrong, there's some amazing stuff you learn. I've had some professors I'm still in touch with to this day who are amazing mentors, but that's what it offered me, mentorship and that kind of relationship. A lot of the really great stuff, like EMDR, you can't perform that unless you have a master's, but you have to have that. And it was a whole other training. It was 6 days of rigorous learning, but that is one of the biggest things that helped me get where I am. And I'm sure you kind of relate stuff that you learned after graduate programs.
Yeah. Well, the latest one that I was into is I about 6 years ago, I had like a bit of a breakdown. I suffered from a breakdown, and it was the past. It was the trauma of the past I'd not properly dealt with, and PTSD is what they found out from my homelessness. So I went to a place called the Meadows in Arizona. Yeah, amazing place. Stayed 6 weeks, but while I was there, they did EDMR and somatic experience, and I was that amazed by what they did. I first of all came straight home and did a course by Levine, a Meadows course on somatic experience, become a practitioner.
Hell yeah.
And then a couple of weeks ago, I looked at brain spotting. It's again, new science. And I liked it. So I became, qualified to teach that. And the next thing, I would say NLP practitioner as well. But the other thing I want to look into is EMDR. I think it has an amazing effect on people. And it's kind of, people will steer away from that because it's new. Nobody likes changes. Can you not just give me a pill that the other doctor before you just give me? Well, no. How about a change? How about a different look at this to see if we can see a different angle? Why don't you take the blinkers off and see what's really going on? And that 90% of the world walk around with blinkers on. Doctor says take this, so I took it. Why? What did you ask him why? Oh no. What? Well, I didn't like to spare up his time. No, when you go into an appointment, the doctor's working for you. Ask him, do I need to go on this? Ask him, I've got an alternative therapies available, alternative. Have I got any of that going? Can I do this without medication? These are the questions we need to be asking, because like you just said, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there that's changing the world, and we're not looking at it properly.
Well, yeah, and if so clients don't know what they don't know. Clients, patients, whatever you want to refer to them as, they don't know it. And I've had so many people outreach me on Facebook, on Twitter, whatever, who hadn't heard of EMDR or somatic therapy. They've heard of Xanax, they've heard of Wellbutrin. We need the marketing teams, and also neurofeedback is a big one for addiction. I had the privilege of interning in grad school as a neurofeedback tech. Now the equipment is very expensive, and insurance is starting to cover it for people, but you don't hear about that as much because it's not pharmaceutical. But I saw amazing things with it, that people who, if they were going to have placeboed themselves out of their addictions or mental struggles, they probably would have already. But you don't hear about it. And so we got to do a better job as practitioners of doing what you're doing, of getting out there and saying, like shouting from the mountaintops, using this kind of communication overload as a way to actually bring people back into functioning. That's the way we're going to get out of this, I think.
Yeah, I do. And it takes a lot of courage to do what I did. I mean, first of all, to announce to the world you're alcoholic and you have some sort of brain defect, and that you do have mental health conditions, mental illness. Well, we call it a mental injury. We don't like to call it a mental illness.
There you go.
And move forward. So yeah, when I stood out, it was either all or nothing. I'm an all or nothing guy. It's like, do I stand up the top, the tallest mountain and shout, or do I just go to like the smallest one? I went straight to the top. Everyone knows who I am, what I'm about, how I do it. And, it's a family recovery as well. We just paid for my daughter to go back, who contacted me 2 years ago after 20 odd years. She went back we paid to go to school for NLP, and she graduated a couple of months ago, and she'll be probably joining the practice next year. So
awesome.
It's great. Yeah, this is what happens when we look at alternative ways of doing things, and we get great therapists like you, Jeremy. The amount of therapists that I met, it's like I wouldn't even tip you if you was in a strip bar. Never mind come and work with you. It's crazy. I don't want what you've got. That's what I say to many of them. I don't want what you've got. You can keep it, because the attention I'm going to give you, the time I'm going to give you, and thought pattern after I put the phone down depends on how you come across to me. Are you excited about life? Well, life's life. Fuck you. I'll get somebody else. You get the next guy on. My therapists are awesome. The last one we had, and I keep changing because I get to a point where it kind of, I need to do something else because she taught me all she needs to know. But, we're talking about a 65, maybe 70-year-old ex-drug dealer, who ran with everybody. He's now a therapist. That's the kind of person I want. It's not for everybody, but it's my person. And I think that's important.
No, I think you've hit on something. It's really essential that we find someone that we're comfortable with. And it's very interesting to kind of consider what kinds of professionals that we're forging in these grad programs. I don't want to sound in any way judgmental, but I will say there are more or less appropriate reasons to become a therapist. And I think what we will often see is if someone thinks that the profession is just talking to people or what have you, that's going to be less of a good fit than helping people to reach their peaks. And of course, I think there are a lot of amazing people who go to school to be therapists. I also know there's a lot of people who are in school who aren't maybe ready to take that on, who haven't done their own work and aren't aware they haven't done their own work. Yes. And maybe it go with any profession like this where you can go straight through as a younger person. I have a lot of empathy for it, but I had some classmates who immediately, like if you asked them what they were going to do, it would be like, oh, well, I'm going to go into private practice. It's like, good luck, as a 24-year-old who maybe middle-class American, it's like, what are you going to tell people as a therapist? What are you going to, and again, I was in that boat. I went to school young for that, but I knew like, I need to get trained in some good shit that's actually technically applicable. Because I'm not going to say, oh, I know a lot more than you to somebody in their 50s, 60s, whatever. And I think it's really helpful for healers to go out there and slug it out in a setting like what I was in an agency where you see a lot, you learn a lot, and you're biting off more than you can chew. I think it's actually essential because that's where you learn. You're going to learn from those patients, those tough stories, working with people who have chronic mental illness and having a good supervisor who tells you how to do that. That's going to be way more informative than staying in that comfort zone and talking to people like you and being in an echo chamber.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Awesome. I like it. It's like you need experience. You need to be guided. You need to be taught your profession. You also need your own life.
And there's the other side of it where it's like, well, you don't know my struggle because you weren't addicted to meth or heroin or whatever. It's like, okay, now if you get into like you need someone who had your exact same experiences, it gets very, very short-sighted in that regard. So I think it's like you need someone who understands it empathically and can relate to it on a certain level. And when it's at that level, then it's good. But yeah, I can't believe the level of shaming that goes on with some therapists, or conversely, enabling. Yes. I'm hearing this trend now of people going to therapists and then basically the therapist excusing everything. And maybe it's because they don't want to get grieved, but here's the deal. You can say, hey, I hear you saying this one thing, but I'm also hearing that you're not changing what we talked about you wanting to change. Where do we want to go from there? You literally just bring it up like that. But enabling is not the answer. I'm hearing a lot, and I'm seeing stuff kind of out there in the Twitter sphere, on Facebook, I'm about like people telling the therapist one thing or being told something is a growing process. And it's like, yeah, but you don't need to keep learning the same damn lesson. Learn that one lesson.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. I love it.
Well, and this is a great conversation. So to pull it back in here, I want to bring attention to any ongoing projects or anything like your podcast, which is awesome. You've got a co-host on there who's very outspoken too, Jennifer Lovely.
Yeah, Jennifer's awesome. Only known her for about 6 months. We met for the first time last week. She came to the house and stayed with us for a weekend because, we do a recovery coaching is another thing that we've started. It's kind of not. It's kind of it doesn't what we see a patient every day.
Okay.
Every single day you've got to jump on for an hour with us, or you've got to come and see him for an hour. That's the program. But we're looking at guys who only want 1 or 2 days a week. So we started this reasonably affordable coaching program.
Nice.
But we never actually met. So we met. But the podcast is asking the questions that nobody else asks. Pointing out the obvious. Like if your kid's suffering from trauma, stop taking him to the doctors and asking him for pills, but have a look. Why did you cause that trauma? Asking them questions, because it's definitely, if we can trace the family back, we don't say anything outside this family, let's sweep underneath the carpet. My mom used to tell me when they used to call up, for anything, don't tell them you live in this address because we're very poor. And she'd give us another address today. So I got taught how to lie at an early age. I mean, it's just crazy what we're teaching our kids, and the parents need to take some responsibility. So that's what the podcast is all about. Very interesting people.
Nice.
Got some great people coming. Some old rockers coming up. We've got Dion. I don't remember Dion from the 60s. He's
Okay.
was at his house yesterday. Just chilling with him, and
So cool.
He'll be on. So many good guys. The lead guitarist from Jones Jet will be on.
Whoa.
Yeah, we've had some amazing guys coming on. So it's interesting. So we're excited about that. Really excited, and it's growing. It's like we want to be syndicated, so we give ourselves a year to do that. So by 2022, we will be on a syndicated show on Sirius.
Hell yeah.
So when we set our minds to it, and this is another thing I teach, mind, thought, and success is a bit like quantum physics. So quantum physics tells me that I can be on, let's say, a basketball court, 25 places at the same time. At the same time, quantum physics tells me, okay, then where do I want to be? I want to be over near the goal. So when I get the ball, I pop it in the net, and I'm the hero of the game. Here's the crux. How do you get there? I walk over and I take that position. Easy,
Right.
isn't it? And once you have that mindset, whatever you can visualize, you can hold in your hand mindset, amazing things start to happen. Join that with helping people on a daily basis, saving lives and inspiring people. You set yourself up for a life beyond your wildest dreams, because you will be rewarded in every single day for the stuff that you do. And believe in what we do as well. Really believe 100% of what we do. And we're loud and proud.
Now that's a life that is worth sticking around for and not trying to escape with liquor, I think.
Right.
Well, and I glossed over this before because I wanted to ask you some questions, but so you talked about like working with Freddie Mercury, working with famous musicians. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What were those stories
it was back in the day when I was a younger boy. I was a session musician at Abbey Road. So they came to record, and then I did this. And then Freddie Mercury called a manager, who called an agent, who called the Abbey Road and said, I want that Robb Kelly guy. So I went in and we did some sessions there. And they later went on tour in my hometown and asked me to be third guitarist, just sit in the wings in case anything goes wrong. And damn me, the rhythm guitarist that plays with him, Jimmy, he goes down with flu.
Ooh.
Second guy that comes on is not as fit as he should be, because you have to be fit to get on the stage, because it whaps your energy straight away with all these people. Yeah. So he couldn't play all the songs, and he has to come off for a breather. And the breather song was Radio Gaga, which I stepped on stage with Queen at Main Road in Manchester City's football ground, to play one song with him. It was awesome. And then David Bowie, and then Elton John, and a bunch of other guys. But yeah, it was fun. They were so great.
Cool. Yeah. Jeez. So I want to point listeners to the fact that you got a somatic experiencing training from Peter Levine. That guy, his curriculum, if I had to recommend anything besides EMDR to people, that would be it. Because I would also recommend, I'm sure you know this book, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. I've had the privilege of watching webinars from him, all about how trauma is stored in the body. And in other words, it's not gobbledygook. It's these somatic reminders, certain physical states can trigger these memories, essentially. And just wonderful curriculums that people, again, that people aren't hearing about, because they're hearing a lot of stuff that is very fluffy, because that's kind of what sometimes rises to the top online with social media. But there's so much better out there that is just waiting, and that actually has some evidence behind it. So
yeah, and Peter Levine, and I love that book, Body Keeps Score or Body Keeps Count. Yeah, I've read that. When you go there, they give you and say you need to read this. And the basis of what got me interested in somatic experiencing is they shown a deer running down the road on one of the things we're watching, the programs we're watching at there as part of a session. The deer gets hit by a truck. Doesn't injure him much. He just gets nudged by a truck. Mm-hmm. And the deer rolls over, and the first thing the deer does, he stands up and he shakes violently.
Right.
Shaking violently to get rid of everything that it doesn't cause him future trauma. And that's the basis of Peter Levine's venture down that. And it's well underrated right now. and again, there's no money in recovery, so it's hard for him to get out there and do it, But yeah, unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Saved my life,
That's amazing.
Yes,
So you firsthand experience, and I thought I saw on your site too that you do those interventions.
Yeah, we do a lot of interventions, crazy stories about them. We had a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm sure.
A lot of them in the years, but yeah, they're always fun. If done properly, they're usually a success. But that's a whole different another 3 hours of them stories. It's crazy.
I'm sure.
Crazy.
And yeah, that's amazing. I really, this flew by. Such a great conversation, hearing more of your story. Again, I know you've told it. I listened to it on other venues, but I really wanted my audience to be able to hear it and to see this trajectory of from rags to riches, and kind of like then back to riches, but sustainable. I mean, I think that's so essential for people to hear who maybe feel like I'll never be free of addiction or it'll be looming. It's like, well, here's a way to look at it. And here's some tips for recovery. It's like, here's someone who actually faced it and completely smashed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I want to plug my book real quick, because there's a reason for it. Not for the selling. We don't get no money off that. It goes back into the communities.
Please.
All the proceeds, not the profits, the proceeds all go back. So I want to tell you why. So Daddy, please stop drinking. This is the last thing my daughter said to me. Mm-hmm. So we started to write the book. My wife put it all together. I just come out with spits and spats. Anyway, before it was published, my daughter came back in my life, and I've dedicated it to her. And I don't think you'll see it with a green screen behind me now. So it's me and her on the cover, and it says, Daddy, please stop drinking. And what I want you to do, guys, is first of all, if you're interested in the book, find me on social media, or put the Robb Kelly, or whatever we need to put. If you want a copy of the book, guys, I've never done this before. I swear I've never done this before. Just for Jeremy's show, if you're listening or watching and you want a book, send me an email. I'll send you one signed, free of charge. I'll even pay for the post and the mail. Just if you want a book and you want to be helpful and you think you'll get something from it, give Jeremy a shout or me a shout, and we'll send you a free book through the mail. And it's really a good book.
Amazing. Okay. Anything else you want to add here? I mean, I think that's a great place to.
I've got a little thing just for the guys who listen out there.
Please.
If you're sat there, guys, and and you don't think you're good enough, girls or guys, and you don't think you fit in, and you don't think you're worthy, I want to apologize to you. Somebody put that there. That's not our normal state. Our normal state is to thrive and be successful and go on to live an amazing life. So my message to you is, come on, step out of the disease, whatever it is, into the solution. And I am going to put this out there as, if you want to contact me anytime, free of charge, please feel free. I'll be here. If I can help in any way, that'll be awesome. And it's just part of me giving back to the show. So, if you want any help, email me. Won't cost you anything. Contact us, won't cost you anything. We're not going to sell you anything. We're not into that deal. We just want to be here for you and help people. So if you're struggling, guys, you know where we are. Come find us.
Amazing. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Kelly. This has been so cool.
Yeah, it has.